Hello everyone and welcome back to Greyhammer. We're doing some more user-made DLCs from the community. We've got at least another one or two of these videos kind of backed up in the woodworks, so expect to see quite a few of these, and we can discuss what animals we'd like to see in Planet Zoo coming up next. So another 5 packs. Just a reminder that this is indeed in my Discord. I will have fixed the link to that Discord. It wasn't working last episode that I did this on. So if you would like to join the Discord and create some of these DLC ideas, go ahead and follow the link down in the description. I'm Greyhammer. We do a lot of Planet Zoo content on this channel, so it's going to be a lot of fun working on all these packs. So let's get going. And the first one is the Congo Animal Pack. So this one has some really cool species. There's only one on this list that I really don't think would be received super well, and that's the African forest elephant, due to recent events. If we had gotten the last pack and it was an African forest elephant, people would have been excited about it. But because it was a Bornean elephant, people were not that happy. And so I think with now us having 3 elephant species, another one would cause riots at this point. But the African forest buffalo is another good pick. Pretty different than the kind of Cape buffalo that everyone's more used to. You can see that their horns are more upright facing instead of towards the side. That's probably to make them not as wide when going through underbrush. I don't know too much about African forest buffalo, to be honest, but they're really cool, and I feel like them being in with some red river hogs would be a great interspecies exhibit. I think I've seen that in zoos quite a few times, along with some other species on this list. The Congo peafowl is an interesting bird species. A very beautiful bird. I don't know if they're actually in the peafowl family, but because I don't know anything about this species, I must. So this is kind of coming from right field, and so I would be quite surprised if they added a Congo peafowl, but would be cool for sure. We also have the Sitatunga, and this is a really cool antelope species. I have seen these in zoos. I've seen pictures of them with African forest buffalo and interspecies enrichment, and red river hogs. So we're definitely talking about a species that kind of generally works well in zoos, is relatively commonly kept, and works great for sort of more wetland habitats. The African golden cat is a very beautiful cat species I've never seen, but they are kept in zoos from what I understand, and would be a really nice sort of larger, mid-sized cat species. I believe they're similar in size to a lynx, and another small cat species, which are appreciated because we have a lot of big cats, but not as many small cats, for sure. The white-bellied pangolin, I like this pick because we could maybe get an arboreal pangolin. If this pack comes out, they could even add climbing to the Chinese pangolin, which they definitely should have. But a new pangolin model with all the new graphics they can do would look amazing. I'm sure of it. And pangolins are so cool. To be fair, I think a good argument can be made for the ground pangolin just because they're larger and and a little bit more different than the Chinese pangolin. But I think getting an arboreal pangolin will at least make it so that we can make those more interesting climbing structures. And you could even be like, oh yeah, this is a Chinese pangolin, even though it's not. The black and white colobus monkey is a zoo classic, often kept with other primate species, and there's not much to say about them except that, yeah, they are all in zoos. Like, very frequent, sort of larger primate species. The Lasula, I didn't even know existed, so I'm gonna say that's a bit of another right coming in from the. Gosh, I can't speak right now. Very interesting pick that I'm not as sure about. I think an Allen Swamp Monkey would also work well. But a really good pack by Monkey's Tavern again. We got one more pack by Monkey's Tavern, and this is the Nocturnals animal pack, which I think could serve as a really nice post um, a post Twilight pack, so like a Twilight Part 2. We've got the Aardwolf, the Kinkajou, Southern Tamandua, the Desert Monitor, the Serval, Eastern Quoll, the Night Monkey, and Naked Mole Rat. So we've talked about the Aardwolf and other in our last one. So if you haven't watched that, go ahead and watch that now. I'll try and put annotation up in the top right if I can remember to. But they're interesting species for sure, but I won't talk too much about them since we already have. Kinkajou is another great species closely related to the raccoon, living in the Americas. Mainly a fruit eater, would be a really cool species to have for sure, often kept as pets. The Southern Tamandua is another great Latin America, South America species. I believe the Southern is more South America, and then there's also a Northern Tamandua, which I believe can live more in the Latin America regions. They are a super cool species, and I think it could go either Northern or Southern Tamandua. It doesn't really matter to me. But then we've also got the Desert Monitor. I'm a little unfamiliar as to this exact species, so I don't know if it's another name for like a parenti. I should probably do research on that beforehand. Alright, after a little bit of research, the Desert Monitor is found in North Africa and West and Central Asia, with 3 subspecies. Basically, some living. Those in West Asia are the Caspian Desert Monitor, then you've got the Indian Desert Monitor, and the Gray Desert Monitor, which is from North Africa. I like monitor lizards a lot. They're one of my favorite animal species, but I must say I would prefer to see something like a Argus monitor, an Aki monitor, or a Parenti, if we're gonna, because I think the fact that we don't have an Oceanian monitor is a little surprising. Serval is another great nocturnal animal pick, but we've also already talked about them. Eastern Quoll, I believe we talked about the Tiger Quoll, but this is a close relative of that. Would also make great for a nocturnal animal house and help round out that Oceania roster. The Night Monkey is an interesting one, and I feel like a walkthrough exhibit would go really well with these. I'm not exactly sure. I don't think I've really seen them in zoos much, but they are a cool species. I believe they're from Africa, so would be an interesting one. Naked Mole Rat would definitely be an animal that you'd want to see as an exhibit animal, and I think a new exhibit type would work well for them as more of a flat exhibit type where you've got like a 0.5 meter by 4 meter wall enclosure, which could work well for the Naked Mole Rat. I think a few of the like beetles and stuff, it would also work well to show their burrowing behavior. But Naked Mole Rats always have pretty interesting zoo enclosures for sure. On to the next, and this is by Reiki. We've got the Aquatic Animal Pack Part 2. So this is similar how last one was like a Twilight Pack Part 2. This is the Aquatic Pack Part 2. Some other highly requested species in here. So we've got the Nile crocodile, which we've talked about in great detail last episode, so go ahead and check that out. Sea otter, very, very, very charismatic creature that would be a great new otter addition. I would say that we already have a lot of otters. Well, I guess we only have 2, don't we? Huh. Well, okay, we need more otters, guys. In my opinion, we need either a Eurasian and North American river otter, and we need a sea otter. So we need 2 more otter species, in my opinion, to kind of fully flesh out the otter roster, though a spotted otter would be good as well. So sea otters are really cool, almost fully marine, almost never coming out up to land, and they eat sea urchins. Gentoo penguin would be a great other Antarctic species of penguins. Really small, cute, very personable. I just got to see some in the Detroit Zoo, so they are a really cool species, and I can't say too much more about them. Then you've got the northern elephant seal, which aren't common in captivity, but they are in fact kept in several zoos and aquariums. They are huge, and we only have the two pinnipeds, so any new pinnipeds is greatly requested. Alligator snapping turtle is a massive turtle species that can live well over 100 years. They are kept in my local zoo, so I have a bit of a soft spot for them. And they're definitely an interesting species. Could work decently for an exhibit species, even though the exhibit's a little small. I just think that if they were given a full habitat, you would never see them. But they are a cool species. Walrus is another species not very commonly kept in zoos. A lot of pinnipeds, you only get very few pinnipeds actually kept in zoos. The walrus is kept in a few, and so it's not off limits for Planet Zoo to go for, but very rare, but also a highly requested animal, so I think it would work pretty well. Great white pelican is an Australian species of waterfowl. Works really well for sort of those kind of lake areas that would be great for just. You really want those lakes where it's not really an exhibit, but you've got like either a boardwalk or just a nice like fountain lake where you might either have swans or pelicans in it or both. And it works great with interspecies enrichments with other waterfowl. So that would be a cool species. The only one I'm less enthused about is the leopard seal. Currently, none are kept in captivity. Every once in a while, rescue centers in New Zealand and Australia do keep leopard seals, but it is very infrequent. So I really highly doubt that a leopard seal would actually be in Planet Zoo. But they are a really cool species. I would probably switch it out for something like either a harbor seal, a ringed seal, or some other sea lion species. Like a stellar sea lion, I think is more likely. The Desert Diversity Pack is created, and that was another one by, I think I said that it was by Reiki, but Desert Diversity Pack is a cool pack by Origin, TT. He is kind of, because we got the arid animal pack and it was mostly African animals, he wanted to bring a few more arid animal species from around the world. So let's get into a few of those. We've got some from the North and South America, some from Asia, and Australia. So no African species here unless the marble polecat is. I don't know as much about them as I do about the other species, but I will do a little bit of research on that as well. So, greater roadrunner is a bird species from North America, and I believe they probably live in Mexico as well. They're a carnivore and really cool species that can run up to 15 miles per hour. They are interesting in that they'll often take on prey bigger than what can fit in their stomach. And so they have to leave it hanging in their mouth. And so they are, in fact, an interesting bird species. And then as they leave it hanging in their mouth, it gradually dissolves and goes further down. Really cool species from the southwest United States. Ringtail is much the same in that it lives in the southwest United States, a pretty nocturnal species. Very cute, very interesting species, closely related to the kinkajou and the raccoon, as you can probably tell by the banded tail. So in the Procyanine family. So another great species from the southwest. The Patagonian mara is probably the most highly requested species on this list, coming from, of course, the Patagonian sort of steppe regions, and really cool species related to the capybara. Lives in familial groups and is a pair bonding species, which is pretty cool. The Colpio is a sort of fox. It's actually part of the Zorro family, which is a little different from what I understand. And so it's also native to those sort of Patagonian dry grasslands. I can't remember the name of them, but they are super cool. The onager is an equid donkey species from the West Asian and Middle East area. They're a really cool species that's pretty desert dwelling, and in fact, there's a Roman catapult named after them. They're a really cool species. I know a lot of people don't like hoofstock, but I love them, so I want them. The next is the marbled polecat, which I did a little bit of research on. They are native to uh, pretty much throughout Asia, but not going into South Asia and not going into North Asia. So there's a really long line that stretches from the Balkans in like Greece all the way over to China. So really cool species. Every picture I've seen of them, they don't look real. They look taxidermied with little button eyes. But I think they're actually just an interesting species. I always love to see more mustelids, and it's kind of crazy we don't have a weasel of any kind. The greater bilby is a marsupial species from Australia. It is vulnerable and suffers a lot of danger from introduced foxes and habitat loss. I don't think it's common outside of Australian zoos, but most Australian animals aren't, to be fair, besides kangaroos and dingoes. So it would be a cool species. Speaking of species that is kind of uncommon in captivity, but not unheard of, is the parenti. A really cool, large, desert-dwelling monitor species, which we don't really have outside of the Komodo dragon, but the Komodo dragon itself is quite different than a lot of more other desert of other monitors in general. It's looks quite a bit different than more of this Oceanian monitor, which always has that very sleek style head. I've always said I've said to myself that we need an Oceanian monitor. Then you've got the Komodo dragon, which I think just sits in a class of its own. Then we've got our Asian monitor with the Asian water monitor. And we need another African species, a white-throated monitor, in my opinion, to give us the... Nile monitors have a bit more of that narrow head, but white-throated monitor has a bit more of a bulkier head because they eat crabs and things like that. Sorry, that's my little monitor rant. I love them. So, very excited about having something like a parenti in the game. Our last pack by Origin TT, and our last one for this video, is the Arboreal Animals pack. And this is everyone would love this, but we're not going to get it almost certainly because there's too many primates, even if we only have 3. The black howler monkey is a really cool species from Central and South America. Really intimidating species if you hear them out in the wild. I'm not sure if it was a black howler monkey that I heard when I was in Belize, but I definitely heard a howler monkey, and they were terrifying. Sounds like dinosaurs and the rainforest they live in make you think you're in a dinosaur world. Jeffrey's spider monkey is another cool South American primate. They're definitely one of the more higher... Them and the howler monkey are 2 incredibly highly requested species. So those would both be very popular as some New World monkeys being added to the mix. An old world primate would be the wolf's guinan, coming from Africa. Again, I don't know as much about primates as I do about a lot of other animals, but there certainly would round out the Asian primate list, which we have very pitiful amounts of smaller Asian primates. I think the smallest thing we've got is in Africa is I don't know if the Hamadryas baboon is bigger or smaller than the mandrill. I'd have to guess smaller, but those are both some pretty large primates to be considering the smallest. The North American porcupine's a really cool species of arboreal porcupine. I could see this really easily being traded out with the Brazilian porcupine as well, but of course, as a North American myself, I would love to see that coming to Planet Zoo. Kinkajou we've already talked about, but would be great for some more arboreal stuff. Matchy's tree kangaroo we've also talked about in previous episodes, so no need to go too far on them except to just say they would be a pretty incredible species and very highly requested. So this would have 3 very, very highly requested animals, with the howler monkey, spider monkey, and the tree kangaroo. Asian palm civet is another cool one because Planet Zoo has only the one civet species. So the binturong is the only civet in Planet Zoo, and we need to fix that. There are really cool species, or a group of species, of civets and genets, and their larger cousins, the hyenas, and their smaller cousins, the mongooses, get lots of attention, but we need for those medium-sized carnivores that kind of sort of fill that cat niche without being a real cat. The sugar glider is a species from Oceania that is very commonly kept as pets, so one of those Oceanian species that have really made it out of Oceania in captivity, and would make for a great walkthrough exhibit because they're pretty friendly. You could probably do some sort of feeding with fruit. They can be quite wild, but to have them gliding through their enclosure like bats almost would be really interesting. But that's going to be it for these packs. Let me know which of these packs is your favorite, and what of those species, if you had to mix and match a pack from these animals, what you would make from it. And don't forget to join the Discord to talk about the what packs you might want to create there as well, and I'll be sure to cover them in other videos. So, yeah, that's it for this one. Please go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. And thanks everyone for tuning in. Bye now.